Hi, I'm Brian at WVGamers. Today we're going to be looking at a prototype for a game that's currently on Kickstarter. The game is Boba Mahjong by Sunrise Tornado Game Studios. Now, this is a prototype, so this is not how the final game will look like. It's actually not going to be in a little card box like this. It'll be more in a standard size box. Actually, I have a game that's probably similar size. Something a little more closer to this size. But anyways, this is a card variant version of Mahjong, and it mixes a little bit of rummy elements into the game. And essentially, it's a two-player game where players are going to be using a handful of ingredient cards to create their best boba. And so what players are going to be doing is taking turns drawing cards and creating as many sets as they can, up to 3, on a turn. The first player who's able to collect 6 of these little score tokens will be the winner of the game. You will be playing over a series of rounds, creating the different sets, and getting points based on the quality of your boba at the end of each of the rounds. So let's take a look at the game. So the game comes with a deck of cards that have 4 different suits of cards in them. And they'll be, you have your green, your blue, your orange, and your red suits. You also have the toppings, and each of them have a name. The red's your strawberry tea, your Thai tea, oolong, and your green tea. And each of them are going to be numbered from 0 to 8, and essentially what you're going to be doing is collecting these cards and making sets. Sets are going to be either 3 matching numbers, 3 cards that create a straight, such as 1, 2, 3, 6, 7, 8, but not looping around, so you can't do 7, 8, 1, or any 3 of the toppings cards. Toppings cards, there. So, at the beginning of the game, each player is going to receive 5 cards in their hand, a player reference card, and it has the turn breakdown and the end of the round's score breakdown. Then we're going to set up the mixing piles. If any of the cards that are flipped over are a 0, you're going to shuffle that back into the deck and flip over a new card, and you're ready to begin. So whoever's had boba tea recently will be the first player. So on your turn, you're going to draw, then you're going to create sets or draw again, and then finally discard down to 7 cards. Let me get myself back in here. So when you are drawing, you can either draw 2 cards from the deck, or you can draw 1 card from a mixing pile. That's it. That's your drawing action. Creating a set, you'll take 3 cards either from your hand or 2 cards from your hand and 1 from the top of one of the mixing piles and place them down, meeting the set criteria that I explained earlier. So on my turn, I may do something like this. I may just draw 2 cards and then see what I can create out of my hand or what I can create out here. Now, so in my case, I have a 5, I have a 6, and there's a 7 here. So I would take that 7 and add them together, creating 5, 6, 7. The color does not matter when you're creating a straight. So what I will do now is, now that I've created a straight, I'm going to keep one of these cards as part of my score pile, and then I'm going to toss the other 2 cards back out here. Now, if there's a 0 that you used as a wild, which we'll talk about, that will just get separated into a separate discard pile, not coming to top of any of these. So let's say I want to keep the 7. I would place it down in front of me. We'll just, we'll say that this is my score pile. I'd place it down here, and then I take the 2 remaining cards and place them into the mixing pile, or the mixing piles. You have to prioritize any of the empty first, and then you can place the other wherever you want. Basically trying to block the opponent from collecting maybe a card that might be of some value. And once you create a set, you can optionally make another set and then make a 3rd set. So you can make up to 3 sets on your turn. Now, in my case, I don't really have anything that I want to use, so I will decide to end my turn. So at this point, if I had more than 7 cards in my hand, I would discard down to 7. Now let's say it's the opponent's turn. They draw 2 cards. They can't make a match, so they decide to draw again instead of playing sets. So they could just draw a total of up to 2 to 4 cards on their turn instead of actually ever playing a set. And that's basically how that'll work. Now once one player has created 5 unique stacks of scorecards that they have in front of them, that will be the end of the round. Now, if you make multiple sets on a turn, let's say on the first turn, I actually made 2 sets. I will actually stack them on top of each other because I actually have to basically create sets over 5 different rounds to be able to trigger the end game or the end of the round. So at this point, if I had, let's say we had this out here. So can't really see it, but I do have 5 piles out here. What I would do is I would take all those cards and the other player would get another turn as well once I've collected 5. I'll take all those cards and then I will look at the end of score card. And let's actually switch back over to that just for a second so you can get a good view of that. There we go. So that will tell you basically the breakdown of how the scoring is going to work. It's pretty straightforward. Basically, you have 4 criteria that you're going to be judging your ingredients on, and you'll only be using 6 cards. So if you happen to have gotten 7, 8, or more cards in your score piles, you'll pick the 6 that you want to be actually using. So the first is freshness. You would take any pairs, triples, or sets of 4 cards that are in your hand and group those together. So let's say I had these 2 zeros. That is 1 pair, and a pair would get me 3 victory points. If I had 3 of these, I would get 6, and then in 4, I would get 10. So simple as that. Smoothness is straight, so let's say that I was able to create a 3-card straight out of my hand, then that would get me 2 victory points. If I had 4 cards, it'd be 4, 6, and then 10 up to the 6 cards. Complexity is if you have any toppings for 1, 2, or 3 toppings, you're going to get 2, 4, and 8 points for that set of cards. And then finally, the presentation. There's 2 ways you can score presentation. You could either score it based on all of or counting up the like color ingredients. So if you had, let's say you had 2 oranges, and that was your biggest you can create, that would be your points for presentation. The other way you can look at it is, let's say you have a variety of colors in your hand. So it's like, ooh, I have a topping. I have 1 of every color in my hand. I would take those 5 cards and I would use presentation B, which would get me 6 points for having a unique set of cards in my hand. And if you only had 4, you could get 3 victory points. So basically, once you've added up all of the points that you've collected through those 4 scoring criteria, you're going to collect cubes, 1 cube for every 5 points. So if you made 15 points, you're going to take 3 cubes. But if you only made 14 points, you're only going to get 2. So it's going to be rounded down, essentially. So if at the end of a round, some player has a total of 6 cubes, the game is over. Whoever has the most points wins. And then there's tiebreakers, but we won't go over all that. There are some other variant rules that you can also play with. The ingredient topping cards, let's do that, have abilities on them, if it ever decides to focus. There we go. They have abilities on them. In basic play, you won't use these, but if you're using the advanced play, you'll use those. So once you create a set with that topping card, you will use whatever its ability is. So this one says, swap one of your scorecards, can be even this card itself, if you keep that one, and with one of the common scorecards. Now, there's going to be a description about the other variants in the advanced rules. I'm not going to go over them here, but I do have a written write-up that has all of those details, so I'll have a link to that in the description below. But there is some variety of things that you can do with this as well, based on those advanced rules. Since it's on Kickstarter, I imagine there'll be some stretch goals announced as well. So I definitely encourage you, if this seems like a fun little card game that you and maybe your significant other or a friend would enjoy, definitely go check it out. There, as part of that Kickstarter, there's also 2 other games available as well. So you may find that you like this one and one of the other 2 games that they have out there. So definitely go and check them out. And thanks for tuning in. I'm Brian at WVGamers.